מרינה, לשוננו לחרינה. דרך חוכמה לנפשך, והיא חתר לראשך, לצור מצווה אלוקיך, שמור שבת קודשך. לא יקרא ללנו, ונצטרך ואם שמכם ולא ישמע, שבו ביום שבת.
What was that? Oh, it's the thing.
יום שבתון, אין לשכוח, זכרו כריח הניחוח. יונה מצא בו מנוח, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח, איי איי איי. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח. היום נכבד לבני אמונים, זהירים לשומרו אבות ובנים. חקוק בשני לוחות אבנים, מרופונים ואמיץ כוח. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח, איי איי איי. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח. ובאו כולם בעברית יחד, נעשה ונשמע, אמרו כאחד, ופתחו ואנו השם אחד. ברוך הנותן ליעף כוח, יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח, איי איי איי. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח. דיבר בקודשו אל בהר המור, יום השביעי זכור ושמור, בכל פיקודיו יחד לגמור. חזק מותניים ואמץ כוח, יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח, איי איי איי. יונה מצא בו מנוח, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו יגיעי כוח. העם אשר נע כצונתה, יזכור לפוקדו ברית ושבועה, לבל יעבור בם מקרה רע, כאשר נשבעת על מי נוח. יונה מצבו מנוחה, איי איי איי, ושם ינוחו הגיעי כוחה, איי איי איי, יונה מצבו מנוחה, איי איי, ושם ינוחו הגיעי כוח. שיני למען תנקו שבעתם, מי הזיב ברכותיי, אל המנוחה קיבתם, ולבוא עלי בניי, וידנו מעדניי, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם, ולבוא עלי בניי, וידנו מעדניי, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם. לאמר קירו דרור ונתתי את ברכתי, ושאל לך אותה לצרור, לגלות על יום שמחתי, בגדי שש עם שני להתבוננו מזקניי, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם. ולבוא עלי בניי, וידנו מעדניי, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם. מהרו את המנהל לעשות את דבר אסתר, וחישבו עם הקונה לשלם החול ויותר, בתחובים אמוני ושטויי נשמני, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם. ולבוא עלי בניי, וידנו מעדניי, שבת היום, היום לשם, שבת היום לשם. חזק קרייתי אל אלוקים עליון, והשב את נבטי בשמחה ובהיגיון, ישוררו שם לוויי וכהניי, ואז תיתנה שבת היום לשם.
Okay, let's take this music off. Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Bruce. Let's do a sound check. Earth to Bruce, Earth to Bruce. Come in, Bruce. Earth to Bruce. I hear noise, but I don't hear Bruce.
Hi, can you hear me?
Now I hear Bruce. How are you doing, Bruce?
Wow, modern technology.
I know, right? Modern technology, William. That's from a movie. I don't know if you got the reference. Anywho, so what was I going to say? So how you doing, Bruce?
Doing good. Baruch Hashem. Doing good.
Excellent.
And you?
Yeah, doing fine here. Just doing my thing.
You look good.
Thank you. Yeah, I eat healthy. I work out, so all my limbs are still where they belong, and so why not? So what's new there in Israel?
What's new? I think everybody's focused on the COVID thing and the the third booster shot.
That's the big thing these days, huh?
It's funny. All of a sudden, you don't hear very much about Arab-Israel relations. You don't hear that much about terrorism, even though there's been occasional attacks or attempted attacks.
Right.
But it's not first-page news. It seems to be not the focus. The focus is the COVID.
Right. Interesting. And what are people saying? What's the general mood? Are people who were previously okay with the booster now, or with the shots now, getting a little bit pissed off because now it's the third time and they've had enough? I've had a couple of friends who have basically expressed that view. They said, okay, once, twice, it's okay, but now this is getting ridiculous. I've had enough. I'm dropping out, kind of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are waking up.
Right.
I hope. Maybe I'm putting my own hope into that observation, but it seems to me that people are waking up.
Yeah, that's the impression I get, because I've even spoken to a number of people who, say, okay, this is enough. This is getting a little bit weird already. We were supposed to be back to normal after the first inoculation, and then what is this? This is now the third booster, or it's the third shot altogether?
No, they call it a booster. It's a third shot.
The third shot, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, okay, interesting. Yeah. So, okay. Well, we'll see if more and more people wake up. We shall see. So you did not get a shot. You had COVID, so you got an exemption through that, right?
Yeah, let me show you. This is the show I put on.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I have it in my wallet. Oh, I don't have my wallet on me. 1 second, then.
Maybe someone stole it.
No.
I'm joking.
No, this is 1 second. I got to find my wallet. This is too cool.
No problem.
Oh.
I don't know what happened to Bruce. Bruce froze. Okay. Well, then we will start. Let's give Bruce another 30 seconds here. If not, we'll just read the Torah and study the Torah. Maybe I'll remove him. He's right. Here's my friend Raphael. All right, let's let Bruce do his thing. I don't know what happened to the other guy. Technology, it's a messy technology. Okay, I'm going to start reading. So earlier today in the study, we basically read through. We had an number of interesting discussions. And but we read through the entire Parsha first, and that's what I think I'm going to do from now on each week, so we can get through the Parsha. And I'll actually tell Bruce when he gets back on, because I know he likes to do that. So, but now we'll go through in more detail. I guess I'll start at the beginning. Before, I'd ask people if they have any specific issues that they want to raise. But right now, people are having technology problems. So there's no one to answer that question. So I'm just going to go through. And I have here a number of commentaries. Let me just bring up Rashi just for the heck of it. Bring up Rashi because I like to see how crazy his explanations are. Let's see here. So just give me a second. Where did we go? Tanakh. Psalms, Targum. Rashi on Tanakh. Okay. Let's do that. Genesis. '23. So, and then I've got my other commentary, which I like to use a lot. That's the Robert Alter. So let me bring this up. Oh boy. Let's look. That is really bad. Chapter 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. 20, 21, 22. Okay. Oh, God. One second here. '22 and chapter 23. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, Bruce is back. Welcome back, Bruce.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi dropped out.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Can you see my top?
Yeah, we hear you and see you just fine. Oh, I got it. You got it on your head.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let's bring that up. There we go.
You want to see it again?
Yeah, put it back. Do you walk into restaurants and stores with that, just like that?
Well, if someone makes an issue of it.
Do they do they check everywhere? Are they very strict about it, or do some restaurants not give a darn and others do?
Right. I had a gig at a senior center.
Right.
I was so proud to have this that I quickly whipped it out and I said, there it is. And the guy that I was playing with who got us the gig, he had an old one. He only had 2 shots.
Right.
And he woke up. He's not going to get a third or any other boosters.
Right.
And so he showed he had on his phone the old one with the date, but the person who checked didn't look carefully.
Okay.
And he said, "Don't ever do that again to me."
But are there places that don't check at all, even though they're supposed to, or everyone pretty much checks?
I don't know. I don't get around that much. That was my only experience.
Right. I hear you. Okay. I gotcha. Well, we'll see where it all goes.
Probably wouldn't have carded us if I didn't whoop mine out. So I'm not going to do that again. And if they demand it, I'm going to say, I have it, but because you demand it, bye-bye.
That's good. Train them like puppy dogs.
Yeah.
Right. Huh. Well, I mean, I guess the restaurants, they don't really have a choice. They're afraid of getting fined by the police.
Right, and public places too.
Yeah. Do they ever have police sweeps, like they go around inside a restaurant and check everyone's pass?
I went to the university library, and there's a guy that goes around and says, "Pull your mask up over your nose."
Right. But do you have to have a green pass to get into the university library?
No.
There you don't.
Not yet.
Right, not yet. That's the the National Library?
You know what? I don't know. I'm speaking
Okay.
of it might have been close to a month ago.
Right. It might have changed now. Okay. Well, we'll see where things go. We'll see where things go.
Yeah.
Anywho, all right. So let's do a little Torah. So I mentioned earlier your Wi-Fi had cut out, but what I decided to do is something new, which I already did earlier today, but I'm willing to do it again if you want to, which is first just read through the Parsha only in Hebrew, from beginning to end. I know you like to do that, but I also decided to start doing it at the beginning of the studies. That way, because usually what happens, we get through maybe, 1/10 of the Parsha or 1/5 or whatever without having ever read the whole thing through. So that's what I did earlier today. If you want, we could do it again, but we already did it earlier today when I had the earlier study. But I don't mind doing it again if you want to do it. If not, we can just dig in.
I read it already.
Okay. But that's what I'll be doing on the studies from now on. At the beginning of each study, I'll read through the entire section, and then we can dig in and study. So that being said, then, are there any particular issues in the Parsha that you would like to raise, or any questions or comments, or?
Yeah, probably. Let me open my my questions.
Okay.
No, I'm writing. I don't know if I ever showed you this.
Yeah.
I've been writing questions.
Oh, wow.
Of the whole Torah. I began last year at Bereshit. So,
Bruce, you should publish that.
No
answers, just questions.
Yeah, I call it. Let me tell you what I call the manuscript.
Yeah.
I call it. Right. Sirat Nemok. I call it Sirat Nemok.
Sirat Nemok.
Sirat Nemok. Why Sirat Nemok?
Yeah.
Its commentary is spelled backwards because everybody writes commentaries, but I'm writing questions.
Oh, I got you. That's excellent, actually. That's actually a great idea. I think that you should publish it. I'm serious.
Okay, so I basically have it. When I started doing it, I was doing it by hand, writing them down. And then I said, why am I doing that? It's a lot of work to transcribe it to digital. And so I started typing my questions right in, and it saves a lot of work. Yeah. And so these the beginning parts, and there's another one. There's 3 of these. I've been transcribing it now, and I'm getting closer and closer to being done. And when it's done, yeah, I guess it could be published.
Why not? Why not? I think it'd be a good idea, actually. Like, as an actual book, you can do one of those self-publishing places like Lulu or whatever the popular ones are these days.
Are there other people in the group right now?
There are on the stream. There's just you and me, but then there are 2 people watching. One is in Facebook and one is in YouTube, because it's being simulcast on Facebook and YouTube. So they can chime in through. They can't go video. They can't go live on video, but they can write comments from there. Okay, so if they have comments, I'm sure they'll write in, and then it'll show up on my master screen here. If they want to, for those who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, if you want to go live, if you want to actually say something, then you'll have to go on the first link, which is the Streamyard link. So, so the only ones who will be engaging in actual conversations until someone else comes in, which I'm expecting a couple more people. In fact, one friend from I made a new friend in Uganda.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a Jewish community there. It's very interesting. And he seems pretty serious. I mean, I got to say, he's serious about, being Jewish. And so he wanted to come. So hopefully he'll show up. And then probably a couple other from the WhatsApp group, but we'll see. But anyway, okay. So what are your questions?
Okay, I got a lot of questions.
Let's go. Let's hit them.
Okay. So I'll just read them. 23:1.
Yeah.
What does the tag, I have in quotes, Shnei Chayei Sarah, add to the meaning?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give my answer, and then you're welcome to give what you think. This is a basic. How can I say this? This is a basic mistake in understanding the Torah, in my opinion. This whole idea that there can't be any extra words, quote unquote, in the Torah is it's a medieval Jewish idea, mostly, from what I can see. Rashi loved this kind of stuff. I don't even think, if you even go back to like the Mishnah in the Talmud, they don't even talk about this very much, about extra words, and they may talk about other meanings hidden in words, but they don't talk about, oh, this is an extra word, and so therefore there's a hidden meaning in this extra word. This seems to be mostly a medieval Jewish commentator kind of thing, because they had already kind of by that time developed, Hebrew grammars, formal Hebrew grammars, and so they're now looking for anything that violates their formal Hebrew grammars that they've developed. But I think it's a not meaning to insult you, because you're not the one asking it, whether you realize it or not. You're just channeling the rabbis, as we all do to a certain degree, including myself, when I not realizing it until I free myself of it, just like we're having that discussion on Facebook this week. Oh, here's Ariel and Ben. Hi, Ariel and Ben. Shabbat Shalom. And Bruce and Ariel, I think you guys should know each other. I think you guys would have a lot in common if you haven't already connected.
We've been wanting to.
Yeah. Bruce is down in the Jerusalem area.
Cool.
And Ariel and Ben are up by in northern Israel. So
Bruce, we'd like to meet you.
Yeah.
And get some good discussions going.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get back to this. So the question is being asked, Ariel and Ben. So Bruce has a list of questions, and I'm just gonna mute you guys again because there's a lot of noise there. So if you want to talk, just chat, okay, or just let me know, okay? I just muted it because it's just a lot of background noise there.
Okay.
And you're not muted, Bruce. Just Ariel and Ben, a lot of yeah. So
23:5. It says et Avraham. Why not?
One second. So let's go back to the first one. And again, I'm just giving my opinion here. So Bruce asked, why does it say at the end Chayei Sarah when it already says at the beginning Vayu Chayei Sarah Mea Shana? The life of Sarah was 127 years, and then it says again Shnei Chayei Sarah, the years of the life of Sarah. Why does it repeat it? And so my answer is that it's not really that this whole idea of repetition or extra words having hidden meaning is really something that comes out of the medieval rabbinical commentators, and it's not really a Tanakhic idea. The Tanakh is very poetic. It constantly repeats things, or it'll put things in parallel, like it'll say the same thing over and over again. Like what would be, I'll just give an example that I make up off the top of my head. The plants are green and the foliage is verdant, or something like that. That's the way the Torah works. It's a very poetic document. So I don't think that there's any hidden meaning in the fact that it mentions Chayei Sarah again. I think it's just trying to be poetic, and maybe the repetition often symbolizes grandeur or importance or emphasis or something like this. So this is a very important thing. This is basically, Sarah dies, right? So it just doesn't say, that, it's not like talking about a pigeon that, dropped dead off the roof. This is talking about Sarah, the matriarch of all of Israel. And so it's putting it in very kind of a poetic, sing-songy, or, the grandiose? No, not grandiose.
Grandiose?
No, grandiose is the wrong word, but putting in very, adding a little bit of grandeur to the verse by repeating it, Just think of it in English, right? Vayihu Chayei Sarah and the days, you know, it's almost like saying, instead of saying I don't know, I'll make up a name, you know, Jack dropped dead. It's like saying the days of the lives of Jack were 127 years old, and then and so were the days of the life of Jack. You know, it's just adding importance and grandeur and emphasis to the verse. That's the way I understand it. Yes, go ahead, Ariel and Ben.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment. Does it maybe not emphasize the fact that, that for some reason they're emphasizing the fact that she lived to 127? I believe Sarah's the only one whose age is, or the only matriarch whose age is actually given.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Rivka's age. So we have Rivka, Rachel, Leah. See, I think you might be right about that, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But we see this kind of language when in a lot of places when people die. So when Abraham dies, we get the same kind of language. And Yitzhak dies, even when Ishmael dies. No, maybe not with Ishmael. Let's see here. So Abraham dies.
Yeah, Ishmael too.
Let's see here. So this is Abraham's death. I believe the death of Abraham. So this is chapter 25. Ve'ele yemei shnei Chayei Avraham. Chapter 25, verse 7. Ve'ele yemei shnei Chayei Avraham asher chai ma'at shana v'shivim shana v'chamesh shana v'yegava v'yamat Avraham b'seva tova zaken v'seva v'yesef el amo. Right? So even verse 7 alone has that same kind of language, right? Ve'ele yemei shnei Chayei. These are the days of the years of the life of Avraham, who lived 100 years and 70 years and 5 years, right? So it's that same kind of language. And let's see with Ishmael when he buys the farm. Same thing with Ishmael even. Ela shnei Chayei Ishmael, verse 17, chapter 25, verse 17. Ela shnei Chayei Ishmael, and these are the years of the lives. Well, here we don't get a year. And with Abraham, we get a years in a life, the days and the years in a life. Here we just get years in life for Ishmael. Ve'ele shnei Chayei Ishmael, ma'at shana, 100 years, u'shloshim shana, u'sheva shanim, v'yigva v'yamat v'yesef el amav. It's almost the same phrase that we see in verse 7 with Abraham, and it's almost the same, very similar to what we see with with Sarah, right? Chayei Sarah mea shana, right? So we shnei Chayei Sarah. So it seems that when important people die, this is kind of the way that their deaths are presented, or their lives, the years of their lives are presented, or their deaths are presented. Basically, you know, it's a common thing, and we see it throughout the Torah. So again, it just lends kind of importance, or grandeur to that person's life. That's the way I understand it. So, any other comments, guys, on that? That's my opinion. Doesn't mean it's the right opinion. So let's hear your guys' comments. Oh, I think I have you. Oh,
no, we're quite happy. I think that you're hitting the nail on the head with that one, Melech.
Yeah. People forget that the Torah it's basically very poetic. It's poetry, it's prose, but even the prose is has a certain style of language. It's not people think that it's it's like some kind of scientific document, like they're reading a peer-reviewed paper in some scientific journal, but that's not what the Torah is. Let's see, out of curiosity, what Robert Alter says. Oh, shoot. I just did that again. I can't do that. Wait 1 second. I lost the page. So Robert Alter, who's I like him a lot, and he's popular these days.
His name is Alter, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And here we go. This is exactly what Robert Alter says. I'm reading his. So first of all, he translates it as Sarah's life was 127 years, the years of Sarah's life. And his comment on that is years, the years. Again, he's referring now to the repetition. The Hebrew is still more extravagant. That's exactly the word I was looking for, extravagant, in its use of repetition, usually repeating year after 100, after 20, and after 7. The same device of stylistic emphasis is used in the obituary notices of Abraham and Ishmael. It's basically exactly what we just said, right? So
it's kind of like in Old English where you'd say 80 years.
Exactly. Yep. So if we're on the same page as Robert Alter, then we must be doing something right. So let's stick with that as the answer. All right. So Bruce has a list of questions. Bruce, what's your next question?
Okay, next one's the next verse, 23:2.
Yeah.
It says, he, Kiryat Arba. It's an orthographic question. There's a chirik under the hey,
right?
But it's followed by a vav. It's not followed by a yud. What's the story there?
I see what you're saying. Kiryat Arba, he, Hebron.
But there's a vav. It's not a yud.
Right.
And then later in the same verse, why is the chaf small in...
we spoke about that earlier extensively. So I'll tell you what. Yeah, let's go back for this one. Let's go back and look at what we were doing before. I have to look in my history. We're going to go back to the page that we were looking at before, which is the Leningrad Codex. 1 second. Where is it? Meshek, 4 tabs, 9 tabs. No, that's not it. Metabolic rate in fishes is definitely not it. Okay, hold on a second. Meshek, where was that? Masoretic texts, Hebrew manuscripts, category Leningrad Codex. Maybe it's from here. Okay, so 1 second here. And then we're gonna have to find it all over again. Geez, I don't know if we should go through this, but the question would be, what does it really look like in the Masoretic manuscripts? You know, that may be a case there of Korean Ketiv. We'd have to see. So if you want, let's bring it up. Okay, let's see. Leningrad Codex. Okay, category Codex and media. Inverted nun. Oh, I see. 1 second. I thought I had the page in my history where I could just bring it right up because we were looking at that page. So let me try one more time to see if I can find it. Show full history. 1 second here. 1 second. No, it's earlier this morning. Here it is. It's probably going to be this. 1 second. No, it's not that. 1 second. Yeah. Oh, that might be it right there. Hold on a second.
Well, while you're looking for it, maybe you have an answer for the Vav versus Yud.
Right. So let's take a look at that. Let's see here. So the Vav versus Yud, you're talking about where? That's the one that you're asking about right now, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. The
he or who. It's like a combination of he and who.
Yeah. So the small chaf we already spoke about extensively this morning, and we looked at the Leningrad Codex, and to make a long story short, there is no small chaf in the Leningrad Codex. So we tried to figure out where the rabbis were getting this idea about the small chaf, and we noticed that all of the commentaries on that small chaf came from medieval commentators, and it's not in the Leningrad Codex, which is a Masoretic text, of course. So it seems like there must have been some copy of the Torah circulating around, whether it was a Masoretic text or some other popular version of the Torah that was circulating around, in which that the chaf was written small, but it does not appear in the Leningrad Codex, which we know is the oldest, full Masoretic text of the entire Torah. So that's what I was trying to find here. If we could find the that same page that we were looking at, then we can look at the other one as well and see if there's a Korean Ketiv there, because that's probably what's going on. And I'm not sure if I have online a place where there's Korean Ketiv. 1 second here. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'm just going to do this. So let's drop this, stop the screen. Now I'm going to do share screen, Chrome tab, Leningrad Codex, there. So now we're looking at a copy of one of the pages of Leningrad Codex, and we have to find out exactly where we are. So this is going to be no. So this is not it. So let me see if I can find also. Wait 1 second here. Let me go back here. History. So this is already another day. Well, I don't know if we want to wait, if we want to spend our time on it right now, but because we already did this morning. But I'm going to guess it has something to do with a scribal thing that might be a Cree and a Ketiv. Okay, that actually it's if you look in the Ketiv may be who, and then if you look in the Ketiv, it may be he. Okay, we also know that the vowels that occur in the text when there's a Cree and a Ketiv, we know that the vowels that occur in the text are the vowels that match the Cree rather than the Ketiv, right? So do you guys know what Cree and Ketiv is?
Are you back to the Chirik Vav question?
Yeah, this is the Chirik Vav question.
Oh.
So in the Masoretic text, they have the Cree and the Ketiv, right? The Cree is what you are supposed to read, what you read, and I'm sorry, the Ketiv is what you're supposed to read, and then the Cree is what you're supposed to say. Okay, so what would be I have even a better idea.
Sorry, I got a phone call.
1 second here.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm calling you from Sarah's old phone. This is my
1 second here. So let's go over here, and we'll go to Hebrew. No, all of them. So I think I have the Leningrad Codex here. So, no.
Right, I know.
Hebrew.
So you want me to leave your phone
Leningrad
in
Codex.
the apartment?
Okay.
Because your phone was all in Hebrew.
Bruce, I'm going to mute you, okay? So let me know when you're ready to come back on.
Yeah, listen, I'm on a Zoom.
Okay. So let's see here. Oops, there we go. He, Chevron. So I don't see it here either. Ketiv and the Cree. Where does it say it? It says it in. I'm trying to find it where it is. 1 second here. Oh, I don't see it here. I think online they don't have the Cree and the Ketiv. I think in some of the published editions they do. So I don't know. I'm gonna guess that that's what it is, something along those lines. So, Bruce, let's move on to the next question, okay? Because we're just going to get bogged down on that one.
Yeah, that's what I said. 23:5.
Yeah.
It says et Avraham. Why not le Avraham? In modern Hebrew,
et Avraham. Right, because that's modern Hebrew. Is la'anot le.
yeah.
And in biblical Hebrew, I don't know if it's always la'anot et, but certainly we know that just because there are certain rules in modern Hebrew, that a lot of times it's more flexible in ancient Hebrew. That it doesn't always follow a lot of times doesn't follow the rules of modern Hebrew, right? So I would say that that's just the way. I don't know. We'd have to go through and look at whenever. I'm sure the word la'anot will come up again, and we can see, is that consistent or is it just here?
Okay.
So Again,
Okay.
yeah.
23:6.
Yeah.
The choice of the verb yachla, withhold. Hirsch translates it withhold. The root usually, I think, carries the meaning of ending.
Right.
And I think it's rarely used to mean withhold. Yimna would be more commonly used. So why would they use that kaf lamed?
Right. So lichlot definitely does mean to finish or to complete, right? Like call or lichlol, right? Call or to finish. So let's see. Shama'enu Adoni Nasi Elohim Ata B'tochenu B'mivchar Kfarenu Kforet Metecha Ish Mimenu Et Kivro Lo Yichle Mimcha Mikfor Metecha. Okay, so right. So that verb does mean will not complete or not finish, but I could see how by extended meaning it would mean not withhold from you. Like no one would completely cut off or completely finish or completely, stop, right? Because that's what lichlot means, like to, to kind of finish or complete. So, but let's look here.
So I'm wondering why yimna wouldn't have been used. That's clearly to prevent or to withhold.
Well, again, that's modern Hebrew. I'm not even sure. Yimna, does it even appear? Yeah, I do believe it appears in biblical Hebrew. But okay, wait, let's do this. Okay, hold on one second. That's verse 6. Oh, I'm in the wrong chapter. So let's do this. Verse 6. I'm going to click on this.
Mm-hmm.
So here, this is Strong's Concordance. Shut up, restrain, withhold. Interesting. Kala. So this is a different. Wait a second here. Kana. So shut up, restrain, withhold. Kala. It's Ethiopic. Shut up, restrain, withhold. So this is okay. So according to this is coming from the root kaf lamed aleph. Not from root. not lichlot. This would be lichlo. And we have examples here, right? We have the concordance here on the right. So Arubot Shamayim, Vichale Geshem, right? So it comes from, the same word as Kele, as a jail, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
And here, Kivro Lo Yichale, Yichle, but I'm not so sure that I go for that explanation. 1 second. Vet B'nehem Kalu. Oh, yeah, okay. Kalu, yeah. So I guess it's just the aleph can kind of drop in and drop out. I mean, it does so less than the yud and the hey and the vav, but the aleph is definitely one of those letters that can kind of appears and disappears, sometimes almost seemingly randomly. So what they're saying here, according to this, is that really it should really be the lo yichale with an aleph, but here they have lo yichle with a hey, and according to here, what they're saying is that it really is related to the verb kala, to shut up or restrain or withhold, not to the verb lichlot, which means to finish off or to complete. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my next question.
Yeah.
23:8.
Yeah.
וידבר איתם לאמור, אם יש את נפשכם לקבור את מתי לפני, okay, and etc. Okay, so it seems like nafshechem is kind of like the subject rather than the object, although it's grammatically it's the object, and it seems kind of like colloquial modern Hebrew, where you say yesh et. I think it's incorrect, but
I hear what you're saying, but I think here the et may not be that particle, the direct object particle that you're talking about. It may be with, because et is often used as with. Let's see what they say here. Untranslatable mark of accusative case. No, so here they do seem to say that it is the object particle. So v'yesh et nafshechem likbor et miti milefanai. Yeah, it's definitely a weird construction. I agree with you. V'daber itam lemor im yesh.
It just caught my eye.
Et nafshechem likbor et miti. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because usually the et, if it's not with, sometimes et can mean with, but if it's that direct object particle, then yeah, there's no real verb here that would take a direct object, right? Mm-hmm. So the more im yesh, if there is, I guess it's just a construct that kind of means. I would say maybe this just means it with here, because sometimes et can mean with, although I'd have to check the actual vowelization and see how et would appear when it's with. But if it is the direct object particle, then yeah, it's just one of those weird kind of idioms, weird,
Yeah, like an idiomatic. Yeah. Okay, exactly. Now I have a question that's not orthographic or grammatical.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Abraham himself negotiate with Ephron? Why did he have to enlist the aid of the common people?
Mm-hmm. I hear you. All right, let's go to that.
Just curiosity. It doesn't demand an answer. It just seems funny.
Okay, let's take a look at that then. So, and that's in. All right, so V'yakam Sadefron, no. Vayhu Chayes, no. Let's see where it starts. The negotiations. So it starts in verse 3. So Abraham, I'm just going to read the Hebrew, unless there's something specifically that has to be said. V'yakam Abraham me'al pnei meto, v'daber el bnei chet lemor, ger v'toshav anochi imachem, tnu li achuzat, kever imachem ve'ekbara miti mirfanai. Verse 5. Ya'nu bnei chet et Abraham lemor lo shama'enu, Adoni nasi Elohim ata b'tochenu b'mivcha kvarenu kfor et metecha ish mimenu et kivro lo yichle mimcha migvor metecha v'yakam Avraham yishtachu la'am ha'aretz livnei chet. So in verse 7, he's bowing down to all of the people of the land, of the children of Chet. V'daber itam lemor im yesh et nafshechem likbor et meti milifanav shama'uni ufiguli be'efron b'nei Ben Sohar. So in verse 8, he's asking the people to go speak to Ephron on and see if he's
on his behalf.
Right. So okay, and let's go on just a little bit, because there's something interesting that I would like to point out. V'iten li et marat ha'machpelah asher lo asher b'tzei sadehu v'chesef malei yitnenu li mitochachem lachuzat kever. Verse 10, ve'Ephron yeshev b'toch b'nei chet. Yan Ephron achiti et Avraham ba'aznei b'nei chet. So here in verse 10, we see that Ephron answered Avraham. Okay, so now answered Avraham b'nei chet is answering Avraham ba'aznei b'nei chet, in the ears of the children of Chet, right? L'chol ba'ei sha'ar iro, for all who in order so that all of those who come through the gates of the city, of his city, should hear, right? And then we hear in verse 11, Lo adoni shama'eni, l'adoni shama'eni, asadeh natati lach v'amar esher bo. So then he answers and basically says, take it, right? So I think the idea that's going on here is that this is all being done in public, so there are witnesses, because this is a transaction that's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it were just a transaction between Abraham and Ephron on the side, the it wasn't like they had paper in those days, right? Contracts were back in those days were either etched in stone, or they were, in some places they were carved into mud, right? Cuneiform and stuff like that. So the way that it was usually done is that this was done in public before witnesses, to make sure that the transaction is witnessed, is proper, right? In case anyone would come back later and say, oh, you said 200 shekels and not 400 shekels. And I think that this is even solidified more when it speaks about in verse 10, and it mentions it again a number of times afterwards, that l'chol ba'ei sha'ar iro, that he basically said, so Ephron answered him in front of the children of Chet, for all of those who are coming in and out of the city, who are coming into the city, into the gate of the city, right? So the gate of the city, okay, in ancient times, the gate was more than just a gate. We know it's mentioned many, many, many times throughout the Tanakh. In fact, many years ago, I did an entire study on walls of cities and gates and this kind of stuff. The gate was where all the action took place. It was kind of like the Ben Yehuda of its day, or maybe like the center of town of its day, right? This is where the judges sat. This is where the elders sat. This is where the marketplace was. This is where all the action took place, right? For instance, if we go just very quickly to where is it? No, we're already getting into the wrong book. Let's go back a little bit. Samuel, Kings, Psalms, Proverbs. The end of Proverbs, our famous psalm, or our famous thing that we sing on Shabbat evenings, right? The Eshet Chayil. So what does it say here? Let's find it. Here, verse 23. This is Proverbs 31:23. Noda b'sha'arim ba'ala b'shifto im ziknei aretz. Right? Her husband is known in the gates, literally in the gates. B'shifto im ziknei aretz, where he sits, or as he sits with the elders of the land. Okay, so the city gate was where all of the official action of the city, or of the city and the surrounding area of the territory, basically took place, right? In fact, we know that a blessing that's commonly given is you inherit the gate of your enemy, right? May you inherit the gate of your gate of your enemy. Okay. We also know that the mezuzah, or that the words of the Torah, are supposed to be placed, although it's meant to be poetic, or it's meant to be an allegory, supposed to be placed on mizuzot beitecha uv'sha'arecha, on your gates, right? So the gate was more than just a place to come in and out of a city. The gate was the place where a lot of action took place. In the case of Ruth, in the book of Ruth, when Boaz basically purchases the property of Machlon, including Ruth, that transaction takes place in the city gates. So I think the idea here is that, we're talking about an official transaction, an official negotiation, an official transaction that's done before witnesses that are listening, and that's done usually in the city gate, where all official action for the city, or for the city in the surrounding area, for the territory, takes place. So that would be my understanding of that.
Okay, now 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Ephron yoshev betoch b'nei Het, v'ya'an Ephron achiti et Abraham be'oznei b'nei Het, in the ears of the children of Het.
Right.
And it continues on in 11.
Yeah.
Lo Adoni, shma'eni.
Yeah.
I hear, right? But it continues.
No, I think that would be Shema'eni. Listen to me.
Hear me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Shema Yisrael.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Oznei and hear me.
Yeah.
But it continues, and it says, Natati lacha hama'ara asher bo lacha natatiha Le'enei b'nei ami. Now all of a sudden, it's not the ears and hearing. All of a sudden, it's the eyes. What's the story here?
Again, I think these are, he's speaking, right? I don't think there's any big mystery here. He's speaking and everyone's hearing, but they're also seeing him speak. He's standing there speaking, and everyone is seeing this take place. So I think that's all that's meant there. Okay, if you want to take it a little bit more, allegorical or poetic, then you could say that again. It's emphasis that he's both hearing it and seeing it. It kind of solidifies the tokef, the officialness of the transaction.
Okay. Now in 23:12, you notice that Abraham bows to the common people. He doesn't bow to Ephron. Just an observation.
Common people, the Am Haaretz does not mean common people in the Torah. That's a rabbinical interpretation that comes much later. Okay, or that carries down again into modern Hebrew. When you say Am Haaretz, it means just the peasants, right? But Am Haaretz does not mean the common people. It means the people of the land. So it's basically speaking about these same people that both Abraham and Ephron are speaking in front of, that they're acting as witnesses. So here you can imagine not the entire town, but the important people, like the council of elders or the judges or whoever, does official business for the people of Chet, for the children of Chet, are gathered around here inside the city gate, and they're listening in public to this transaction take place between Abraham and Ephron, and they're hearing it and they're seeing the transaction take place, and so he's bowing down here to those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever happened to be assembled there while this transaction is taking place, because what we're describing here, it would seem, is a transaction that is taking place. Right, because it says here, so in verse 10, we see that Ephron is answering Avraham, and it says, right, in the ears of the children of Chet. So you could picture here that probably what's going on is, all of the important people of Bnei Chet are gathered in the city gates, and they're listening to this transaction occur between Abraham and Ephron. And I think maybe you're reading a bit too into it. It's just kind of describing the situation that this is taking place in public, and yes, so they're gathered there. And now when Ephron in verse 11 basically agrees to give the field and the cave with the cave in it away, then Abraham maybe bows down as a form of thank you, or as a subservience, saying, I accept your kindness, or something along those lines, because he's a stranger there. It even starts off by saying, right, in verse 4, Ger v'toshav anochi imachem, I'm a sojourner and a toshav. How would you translate that in English? A sojourner. What do they usually translate it? A visitor here they translate it as, right? A sojourner and a visitor among you. Okay. So he knows his place, and he's very grateful that these people who didn't have to do anything for him, he's a stranger in a strange land that does not yet belong to him. He's grateful, or he wants to make sure that the transaction, actually takes place. So he's showing his subservience and gratefulness by bowing down, before the people who are assembled at the city gate as representatives of the people of Chet, right? And Ephron is the one who owns the land. So he's the one. So Abraham and Ephron are the ones doing the negotiations, but they're doing it in front in this very public setting, so that the deal is solidified and heard by many people, right? That's the context. That's the general context that's going on, which I think a number of your questions now kind of refer to that, that same situation.
Okay, next one is not a question; it's just an observation.
Yeah.
That Ephron is being cute. In 23:15, he's saying the money's not important, but he quotes a specific figure.
Right. I don't think.
It's funny.
I don't think he's being cute. I think he is. You have to think of the shuk, right? If you were to go to the shuk and you were to start, negotiating with the Arabs over, I don't know, you see a nice Shabbat candelabra or something like that they're selling, right? And they say, oh, wow, this is such a beautiful candelabra. It reminds me of my grandmother's candelabra that, that I used to have when I was a kid. And is there any way that I can have it? And the Arabs say, oh, yes, of course, my friend, of course. Take it. This reminds you of your grandmother's candelabra. Then yes, you must have this candelabra. It's only worth 150 shekels. So please take it, right? But the guy understands the hint. Okay, you want 150 shekels, right? So Ephron, in my opinion, this is just kind of my opinion. He's trying to, he's trying to be gracious because we're talking about Avraham burying his wife. So he's kind of like he's trying to on the outside be gracious and say, yes, just take it. You're burying your wife and you're a Nasi Elohim, you're a prince of God, so just take it. But he's hinting in there, it's really worth 400 shekels. So maybe you should pay me 400 shekels. And Avraham, I suppose if Avraham had answered at that point, oh, thank you very much, I'll take it, then who knows what would have happened at that point. But Avraham didn't want to. He wanted to pay for it. And he wanted to do this very publicly, and he wanted to pay for it. He insists on paying for it, right? Because he wants to make sure that no one could ever say that he did not buy this. This is why it's all taking place in public. And this is why, money is exchanged, because Avraham wants to say, this is mine. No one can take it away from me. I bought it fair and square. So, but getting back to your question, the way I understand it is that Ephron is, he's doing that kind of typical Middle Eastern thing, being gracious, but at the same time being a little snake. He's really showing in his answer how much money he wants for it.
I have a personal anecdote.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I once took my parents, this is many years ago when you could still visit Bethlehem.
Right.
I took my parents to the shuk in Bethlehem, and my mother wanted one of those Bedouin dresses.
Right.
And we went into a shop.
Yeah.
And there was a Bedouin dress that caught my mother's eye, and
right.
my father wanted it, and he says, "How much is that dress?" And the guy says, "Sir, it is 200 lira, but for you, I give it to you for 100 lira."
Right.
And my father says, "I'll give you 5 lira."
Right.
And he says, "Oh, sir, don't be silly. This is a very fine, but for you, I give it to you for 75 lira."
Right.
5 lira. "Sir, you are bargaining very hard, but I will, because I like you, I will give it to you for 50 lira.
Yeah.
5 lira.
Right.
"Sir, your grandfather must have been an Arab, sir."
I love it.
True anecdote.
It's very funny. But the point remains, that type of culture, it really goes down through, it probably goes back to ancient times, that kind of, very gracious kind of talk on the outside, but at the same time making known what you want. So Ephron is making known exactly how much money he wants for it, but he's trying to, be gracious. It is kind of a snake oil salesman kind of thing to do, but Avraham gets the hint loud and clear, and Avraham wants to pay for it. That's what we see in the next, right? Shema Avraham el Ephron. So Avraham in verse 16, Avraham listened to Ephron, or heard Ephron. Vishkol Avraham Ephron et kesef asher diber be'ozne bnei chet. That so he weighed out the money that he had mentioned, that Ephron had mentioned in the asher diber b'ozne bnei chet, that Ephron had said in the ears of the children of Chet. 400 shekel kesef over lesocher, right? 400 shekels of silver. Over lesocher, they usually translate that as something like a good for I can't remember how they translate it, but like acceptable currency or legal tender or something like that, right? So it's making it very clear that Abraham understood what Ephron was hinting at and paid that amount of money, right? So,
right. So you remember at the beginning,
yeah,
I pointed out that it was strange to me.
Yeah,
they said et Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Ana et Abraham instead of Ana le Abraham.
Right.
And here in 23:16, the verb is Yishma El.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the hardest part in learning a foreign language is the prepositions.
It can be, yeah. And not only that, but the prepositions in biblical Hebrew can change around a lot. They're not even consistent from one verse to the other all the time. Sometimes it could be one and sometimes it could be another,
Right. And the whole flip-flop between hearing and seeing during this transaction. We saw that it said hearing, singing, and now, not singing, seeing. And now, here, it's a visual act of counting out the 400 shekels.
Right.
Yet, it's be'oznei ha'am.
Right.
In 23:16, which I don't know, I just find it curious.
Well, it says that he spoke into the ears. In other words, the amount that Ephron had mentioned in the ears of the children of Chet. And I think again, the purpose of that is to show that this is all being witnessed by many, many people. That this is an official transaction.
Right.
Right. If you want, let's take a look at. Let me look at Robert Alter and see what he has to say about this. Let's see. Sojourning settler at the full price. Okay. You are Prince of God among us. In the pick of our graves bury your dead. So he says, on the surface, this is a courtly gesture of extravagant generosity. But as Mayor Sternberg, whoever that is, 1991, who provides an acute reading of the sinuous turns of the subsurface bargaining, nicely shows there is ambiguity of intention here. A certain exaggeration in calling Abraham a prince of God, which could simply mean preeminent dignitary among us. It claimed to only be with them, and a pointed deletion of any reference to a holding or transfer of property. Okay. At the far end of his field, in settling on this particular location for a burial cave, Abraham wants to make it clear that he will not need to pass through or encroach on the rest of the Hittite property. Oh, that's interesting. Field, sadeh, a flexible term for territory that stretches from field to steppe, could mean something like land or property in this context, but rendering it as field preserves the distinction from eretz, land, as in the repeated phrase, folk of the land. Okay, at the full price. So here, this is now referring. At this point, Abraham makes it altogether unambiguous that the grant he's been mentioning means a sale. The Hebrew is literally with full silver, and the phrase, verse 16, the silver that he spoke of refers back to the speech. Oh, shoot, just lost the page again. 1 second. I don't know how it does that. Wait 1 second, Bruce. Sorry. My hands off the mouse when I'm doing this. Okay. All right. In the hearing of the Hittites, all the assembled in the gate of his town. Legal business was conducted in the gateway. The men assembled there constitute, as a Spicer proposes, a kind of town council, and the two phrases in apposition are a legal formula. Scholarship has abundantly observed that the actual language used by Ephron and Abraham and the narrator bristles with set terms familiar from other ancient Near Eastern documents for the conveyance of property, right? So that's kind of what we were saying. Reading here, Lou, for the Master below. The fields. As Mayor Sternberg shrewdly notes, Abraham had wanted to buy only the cave at the far end of the field, and so Ephron's seeming generosity in throwing in the unrequested field into the bargain is a ploy for demanding an exorbitant price. Right? So again, here we're back in the shuk. I grant you, I grant it, I grant it. This is verse 11. This is a performative speech act, the repetition indicating that Ephron is formally conveying the plot to Abraham. That's verse 11 they're referring to. Let's take a look at that. Just out of curiosity. Verse 11, Lo Adoni Shama'eni Hasadeh Natati Lach Hama'ara Asher Bo Lecha Nitatiha Le'enei B'nei Ami Nitatiha Lach Kfor Meitecha. Right? So it's this repetition of I've given it to you, I've given it to you, I've given it to you, that now Robert Alter picks up on and says that it's a formal conveyance of the plot to Avraham. Ephron, of course, knows that what Avraham really wants. Oh shoot, I did it again. What Avraham really wants is to be able to buy the land and thus acquire inalienable right to it. And so this bestowal is really a maneuver to elicit an offer from Abraham, right? Verse 15, 400 shekels, land for 400 shekels. A comparison with prices stipulated for the purchase of property elsewhere in the Bible suggests that this pittance is actually a king's ransom. Abraham, having twice declared his readiness to pay the full price, is in no position to object to the extortionate rate. In fact, his only real bargaining aim has been to make a legitimate purchase, and he is unwilling to haggle over the price, just as he refused to accept the booty from the king of Salem. Perhaps Ephron refers to the property as land instead of eretz, instead of sadeh, field, in order to provide rhetorical mitigation for the huge sum, intimating by way of a term that also means country, that Avraham is free to imagine he's getting more than a field with a burial cave for his money. Okay. And verse 16, but it's the same verb to hear. Shema, repeatedly used at the beginning of the bargaining speeches, weighed out. The transaction antedates the use of coins, and the silver is divided into weights. The language of these, and then verse 17 to 20, the language of these concluding verses is emphatically legalistic, recapitulating the phraseology that would appear in a contract for the conveyance of property. The verbal stem kana, to buy, which was studiously avoided in the bargaining, finally surfaces in the term for possession, mikna. Many interpreters view this whole episode as a final gesture of the aged Abraham toward laying future claim to possession of the land. Mayer Sternberg, on the other hand, reads it as thematically coordinated with the previous episode of the binding of Isaac. First, the promise of seed seems threatened in the command to sacrifice Isaac. Then the promise of land seems to be mocked in Abraham's need to bargain with the sharp-dealing Hittites for a mere gravesite. Okay, anyway, a lot of extra information there, but I think the general basic idea is the same, right? That this is all part of a very, astute and, again, kind of like almost like a play acting in the shuk kind of negotiation that's going on. It's clear what Ephron wants. He wants a lot of money, and it's clear what Avraham wants. He wants to purchase this piece of land without any questions asked, so that no one could ever say that he didn't purchase it, right? That's the general idea of what's going on here. So, well, what do you think, Bruce? Overall, what comments do you have about this part of the story?
No, it's good. It's good. Okay,
yeah.
23:17.
Okay, 23:17. Yeah,
was established. Why that verb? Who established? If you look at 23:9, the Machpelah is inside Ephraim's field, but here the field of Ephraim is inside the Machpelah. It's reversed. Sadeh Ephron asher b'Machpelah. It's interesting.
I think Machpelah is an area. I think if we understand it, let's see the first time it shows up. 1 second.
What's the story?
One second. If let me want to come, Avram yishtachu la'am ha'aretz nechet yidaber itam lemor yeshet nafshechem nikod milafnei shemuni v'kuv ten li et ma'arat ha'machpelah asher lo asher b'katzei sadehu b'kesef malei yitnenu b'Efron ve'Efron yoshev ve'Efron chiti v'Emem b'asnechot. 1 second. So I think Machpelah, if I understand it correctly, is just it's the name of an area. So
regardless, if it's an area, in one case, the Machpelah is inside Ephraim's field, and in the next case, the Ephraim's field is inside the Machpelah.
Well, you're assuming if Machpelah is an area.
Yeah, so.
Right? So then you're talking about verse 17, right?
Yeah, verse 23:9 as opposed to 23:17. We could say Ephraim. It's in a corner. It's in a corner of Ephraim's field. But now here, Ephraim's field is in Asher b'Machpelah.
So I think of Machpelah as like, I don't know, what would be an example of? Think of Machpelah as being a Kfar Eldad, and you're buying now a field that has a cave in it within Kfar Eldad. So now, whenever you see the word Machpelah, substitute it with Kfar Eldad, and I think it'll make more sense.
No, it doesn't. It still doesn't.
Well,
and one is inside the other, and
no, they're both inside an area. They're both inside a town called Machpelah, or both inside a region called Machpelah.
No, but here it says Machpelah Asher Rega Sdei Ephron Asher b'Machpelah, but in 9 it says Machpelah b'Ktsei Hasadei shel Ephron.
It says Ma'arat HaMachpelah, right? Which, again, because
you're saying Ma'ara is different. Ma'arat HaMachpelah is different than Machpelah.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's Machpelah. Okay, I'm going to read the 2 verses again, and I'm going to substitute it with the words Kfar Eldad, and then you'll see what I'm trying to say. Then you can agree or disagree with me, but at least let me try to let you know what I'm thinking. Okay, so verse 9, and Vitain li, and he let him give me.
Never mind. I see the difference. It's Ma'arat HaMachpelah makes all the difference.
Yeah, it just means the cave that's in the region known as Machpelah. Machpelah is not the name of the cave. We call it Machpelah in modern Hebrew because we modern Israelis don't know biblical Hebrew well, right? So we think Marata Machpelah, we think Machpelah is the name of the cave, but it's not the name of the cave, and it's not the name of the field. It's the name of the region. And inside that region is a field that belongs to Ephron. Inside a region called Machpelah is a field that belongs to Ephron. And at the edge of that field is a cave. That's it. And if we go here, let me click on this. Machpelah, it might, here, Machpelah, placed near Hebron. And the BDB says, proper name of a location near Hebron, where the patriarchs and their wives are buried, blah, 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 cave of Machpelah, etc., etc. Okay?
Right. The answer is Ma'ara. That's the answer.
Okay,
good.
All right.
Okay.
Alrighty, next.
Melech, I have to go to somebody. I have I promised them that I would visit.
Yeah, so no
problem. I think I'm going to go. I have a lot more questions. Every verse or two, I have an observation or a question.
Mm-hmm. I think in general, if I were to make comments on a comment on a lot of your questions, it's a problem that we all face, myself included, and everybody who's trying to study the Torah, is that we tend to overlay our knowledge. We tend to overlay modern Hebrew on biblical Hebrew, and this creates a lot of problems. It's they're really, I wouldn't say they're 2 different languages, but they're 2 different dialects for sure. And it's, we make a lot of mistakes by expecting biblical Hebrew to have the same word meanings and the same prepositions and the same grammatical structure as modern Hebrew would, and it doesn't at all. So that's my general comment.
Yeah. Okay. Nice seeing you, Melech.
Nice seeing you too. Shavua Tov, Bruce.
Shavua Tov. Chag Sameach.
Oh, you're doing Sukkot now, yeah?
Today is Chag.
Oh, okay. And did you have a sukkah in your?
I did. I built a sukkah. Yeah.
Can show us. I wish you. Oh, you're not on a cell phone. You're on your computer, right?
No, I'm not on the telephone. I'm on the Upshift. Anyway, it's totally
Like
black outside. Although I put a light in it.
Well, I really enjoyed the discussion we had with our friend Daniel. I won't mention his last name, and a couple of other people on Facebook.
Yeah, we left the rabbis. My friend Dove Epstein, he's a rabbi.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned.
And there's Stephen Bernstein from Miami. He's also a rabbi.
Right.
But they don't give answers.
Right. Never. Yeah, they just attack. I've had this. This is for years. I've had to deal with that kind of thing. And once people start decaying into ad hominem attacks, you know you've won the argument because they don't really have an argument.
Right.
That's it. It's pretty much game over once it decays into ad hominem attacks.
I mean, I don't know Stephen Bernstein. I don't know him, but I know Daniel and I know Dove very well.
Right.
The banjo that I play that I love.
Yeah.
He built the banjo. So it's a rabbinically built banjo.
Is it the minimum size, and does it have the dimensions that are approved by the rabbis?
It's approved by one rabbi, him.
Well, bring him on one day after. Well, I guess Shabbat already went out, and invite him, and let's argue it out with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
you can invite him. I don't know if he'd be agreeable, but
all right. Well, I'll leave that up to you since you're buddy with him, and I don't even know who he is. I think I've heard his name floating around.
He's a very funny guy.
Yeah,
he could be a stand-up comedian.
Well, really I hope you guys don't end up hitting each other over the head with banjos.
No, he has too many troops on his side. I'm not going to start up with him. He has 12 children.
Ah, okay. Wow.
All with the same wife.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Bruce. So,
be good.
All right. Talk to you. Shavua Tov. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Well, maybe we'll end the study now. I think that was a nice little study. Unless anyone else wants to come online here onto the Streamyard. If so, then write me a text now. And if not, I think we're just going to end the study. It's already getting a bit late. But does anyone want to comment, or does anyone have a question? You could just type it in. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, you could type it in. And then we can take it from there. If not, I guess I'm going to end the study. We've been going at it for about an hour and a half, which is a nice size study. So last chance, any questions from anyone? You could just type it into the chat. And if not, then we're going to end the study. Okay, so I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom wherever you are, and a Shavua Tov, and we'll do it again soon. I don't know about next week, but if not next week, then probably the week after. So I'll let everybody know on Facebook. Okay, Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom.